Even the supply chain professionals struggle in differentiating between the planning component of enterprise software versus the execution component. But regardless, the S&OP software is going to be super critical for you if you are a supply chain heavy organization. So, which are the software designed for S&OP? That's what we are going to discuss in this video, the top 10 S&OP systems in 2023. So, let's
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, enterprise software selection, as well as implementation. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is going to be the top 10 S&OP systems in 2023. Now, when you look at the S&OP systems, there are going to be many different layers. Some of the S&OP systems are going to be part of the suite where they are going to provide a lot of capabilities that supply chain folks are going to be needing. The other ones are going to be slightly more independent. Now, in general, with the sales and operations planning, the external data matters a lot because that is what is going to give you the insights. Your internal data alone is not going to be enough. That's why S&OP systems generally have very different life cycle than your execution systems. The network is going to be extremely powerful as well because the network produces the data that you are going to be providing for your planning. Sometimes this data may come from your supply chain partners, whether it's going to be your customers or vendors, whether you are doing joint forecasting, but typically data is going to be driver for your S&OP systems. Some of the buckets that are typically bundled as part of S&OP systems is going to be your demand planning, it's going to be inventory planning, it's going to be your capacity planning, workforce planning, scenario planning. All of these buckets are going to be part of the S&OP systems, and most of the solutions that are going to be targeted for S&OP in the S&OP market, they all are going to have these capacities in different form. Now, the planning differs when you go from industry to industry. Just because you found an S&OP system that might work for, let's say, hardline retail industry, it might not be as proficient in the soft line retail industry just because the planning cycles are going to be different. The way they are going to be planning is going to be very different. So make sure you pay attention to which industries the planning systems are designed for. It might not be relevant for the ERP system, and that's why when you look at these S&OP systems, they are designed for a very specific micro vertical. Sometimes they don't even sell in the other micro verticals just because they know that it's probably going to struggle or it may not work. Even though your supply chain planning, you might feel that it's going to be very similar across the industries, but the industry expertise, especially with the supply chain operations planning system perspective, it matters a lot. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Relax Solutions. And Relax is really strong in the retail supply chain planning. It's the standalone solution. It's not part of the suite. And for the most part, they are going to have many different capabilities that retailers are going to require. They might not be as relevant for other industries. For example, when you look at the trade promotion planning, or you are going to look at the pricing, etc., that might not be as relevant for some of the other industries if they are not going to be as heavy in pricing planning, if they are not serving the consumer-centric verticals. So now the pros for Relax solution is going to be they have the integrated workforce planning. The workforce planning itself is a very heavy component. If you are going to have heavy workforce, especially for retail organization, the workforce planning becomes very important because if you don't have the workforce, or if you are not able to plan the dollars, the workforce that are going to be part of your stores, that becomes very difficult. You are going to have customer experience issues overall. Now, the planning for workforce for retail organization could be very different from planning for a very professional services industry, just because these are very different skill set overall. So Relex does provide that integrated workforce planning, and this is going to be the cons for Relex is going to be that it has limited focus for certain industries, and it's not a integrated suite, as well as not meant for the enterprise workloads. So that's number 10. Number 9 on our list is Oracle Gementra. And this is going to be relevant for enterprises already using Oracle ERP. If you're already on that, then you don't have to spend as much time moving data for your supply chain solution. In general, when you talk about moving data for supply chain planning software, it's not as difficult, even if you are going to be using the planning software in the standalone fashion, because for the most part, you can export it as the CSV and you can put it in your S&OP software. You are not necessarily disrupting your operational workflow by doing this load manually. Obviously, if you can integrate, that's going to be easier, but for the most part, the integration is not as relevant. But if you care for integration, Oracle is definitely going to be have a plus there, because that's going to be pre-integrated with their ERP. So pros for Oracle Gementra is going to be that it is designed for the enterprise planning workloads, comprehensive demand forecasting capabilities, and pre-integrated with other Oracle products. Now, the cons is going to be that user interface might be clunky, especially when you look at the planners. If they are not going to be as sophisticated in using software, if they like to plan more in the spreadsheet, they might not appreciate the complexity of this software. You are probably going to have the steep learning curve, as well as it is going to be expensive. You are also going to feel that it is not as flexible overall in terms of the formula, even though it is designed for that Excel-like interface. But for the most part, you are going to feel that if you have been planning on a spreadsheet. That's number 9. Number 8 on our list is SAP IBP. An IBP solution is adopted very well overall in the enterprises. It's a very popular solution in general. Now, the pros for SAP IBP is that it is going to be pre-integrated with other SAP products. The comprehensive supply chain planning capabilities, because all of the components are going to be integrated. You are going to have data from all of those components, even though the network data is probably not going to be available with SAP that you are going to find with some of the other solutions, or SAP is going to rely on add-ons to be able to get that external data if they are looking to get that from some of the networks that we have in the market. Now, the cons for this is that the user interface is going to be slightly dated, may not be as visual as some of the other platforms, and it's also going to be expensive. So that's number 8. Now, number 7 on our list is E2 Open. And E2 Open, overall, the way solution is designed, it's the complete suite, meaning it's going to cover all 3 legs equally well, which is going to be, they have very strong network themselves and network across all of the buckets, whether you are talking about the channel buckets or you are talking about the carrier buckets. So they are going to have data for that. And because of that, their planning is going to be very strong because they control that data. They own the network. So they have the network, they also have the planning component, but then they have the execution component as well. And that's what makes E2 Open very strong overall as the S&OP solution. With the other companies, they are either going to rely on a third party to provide this data, so they might not have as much control on that data. So the pros for E2 Open is going to be the end-to-end supply chain capabilities as part of the suite, the richest decision grade data. When you look at the AI ML capabilities, E2 Open is going to be far stronger just because they have the strongest network and strongest data in the market. That's why their forecasting algorithms are going to be slightly richer just because of that comprehensive coverage. So make sure you pay attention to that, because the planning software are all driven by data, and for data you require network, and there are only few networks that we have in the market, and they all are partnering with pretty much everybody in the market. But there are also going to be political elements in terms of who each of them can partner with. So make sure you pay attention to the strength of the network, because that is going to drive the strength of the planning solution as well. With E2 Open, the collaboration planning is going to be easier if these suppliers as well as the vendors are going to be part of their network. And the cons with E2 Open is going to be it's expensive, you are going to have learning curve, and not really designed for SMBs. So that's number 7. Now, number 6 on our list is Logility. And Logility is a very well adopted solution designed for mid-market, covering all sort of planning needs. The pros for Logility is going to be a stand-alone planning solution. It's not part of the suite. So if you're simply looking for best of breed stand-alone planning solution, Logility could be a great fit. Planning scenarios built up, so you are not going to invest as much overall when you look at slightly more technical or horizontal solution on which you need to put in the insight for your S&OP planning, and that requires a lot of consulting effort in general. One of the examples are going to be Anaplan. So here you are going to have industry flavored workflows. Now, there are pros and cons of each of the approaches, whether you are going to go for slightly more technical horizontal platform versus the industry specific planning platform. Here you are probably not going to get as much customizability, just because they have cooked it for you. So you as the planner don't have to do as much work in general. So it's a very prescribed way of doing the planning. Now, depending upon what your sweet spot is in terms of what you want to do you want more flexibility or do you want prescriptive planning? So Logility could be very handy when you are looking at the prescriptive planning for certain industries, but it might not be as flexible. It might not cover as many industries, as many business models in general, but it does provide very detailed inventory planning. That's where its strength is. Now, the cons for Logility is going to be that it's not really designed for the enterprises. And when you look at the enterprise planning scenarios, sometimes they might require far more computing power than your ERP solution, just because you are running the whole data model at least from 5 or 10 different dimensions, and that requires a lot of computing power in general. And that's why sometimes planning solutions struggle, or they are going to be slower than your ERP, and sometimes they are even going to be more expensive than ERP, just because of that computing power that you are going to require for that planning. So Logility is not really designed for enterprises with millions and millions of SKUs, not a complete suite, and you are going to have a limited flexibility, the flexibility that you are going to find with slightly more horizontal solution. But that's number 6. Number 5 on our list is OMP. And OMP is a very well adopted supply chain solution as well. It's upper mid-market solution for chemicals, consumer goods, and life sciences. So those are the industries that they really excel at. They are slightly different from your retail industries. So each of the solution is designed for a very specific industry, very specific micro vertical. So make sure you guys pay attention to that, which are going to be their flagship industries, and go for those solutions. So the pros for this particular solution is going to be they are going to have slightly more prescriptive analytics that you are going to be needing for the life sciences metal-oriented inventory planning. And metal is a very interesting industry. The way the industry is structured, the way their forecasting works overall from the commodity perspective, it's very, very, very unique. So whatever is going to work for retail may not work for the metal industry. And these guys are really strong there. Now, the standalone planning solution, so it's not part of the suite, so which is kind of a pro because you don't have to worry about getting the suite and complexity of the suite. So if you're simply looking for a very standalone planning solution that your planners can use in the standalone fashion, this could be a great fit. Mid-market friendly because of the pre-baked functionality. When you don't have as much, when you not invest as much in the consulting, that's when this is going to be really handy because it's going to be pre-baked for you for the most part, and it's going to be flavored for those industries. The cons for OMP is going to be highly technical platform and would require significant consulting support. So even though you have the workflows that are populated, but you still require a lot of effort from the consulting perspective to be able to understand, because that industry insights is not going to be as intuitive for the planners if those planners may not have as much experience in these micro verticals. Not designed for enterprise workload, so that's going to be very similar to your Logility as well. So that's going to be it. So that's number 5. 4 on our list is O9 Solutions. And O9 is a very successful, well adopted platform for the upper mid market as well as by the enterprises. The pros of O9 Solutions is going to be that they are really incorporating advanced AI and ML capabilities. And sometimes it's not going to be very intuitive in terms of how much AI and ML they are able to incorporate as part of the solution and what is going to be the quality of AI and ML. And that goes back to quality of their data, quality of their network, where they are getting the data from, because that is going to dictate how reliable the forecasting accuracy that you are going to get is going to be. So O9 is definitely very strong overall in their advanced AI and ML capabilities, and they are investing a lot. They also have pre-built workflows tailored for specific industries. Retail, especially, they do really, really well in the large enterprises, because that's been their background overall from the team perspective as well as from the solution perspective. So now the cons for O9 is that not the best fit for smaller businesses. It's going to be expensive, and their ecosystem is very small at this point of time. They don't really have as large consulting base, so you probably are going to rely on their professional services to be able to support the platform. But that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Anaplan. Anaplan is the best fit for mid-market to enterprises that are looking for slightly more horizontal solution as opposed to going for the prescriptive analytics. In general, the strength of Anaplan is going to be in terms of its ecosystem, the number of consultants that you are going to find in the market, just because they are trying to approach it that way. For the most part, whenever you are going to have any of the horizontal solution in the market, regardless of whether this is going to be S&OP or it's going to be ERP, the consulting base is going to be far stronger, just because they can do a lot more. They can build workflows for many different industries. That's how consultants make money. So Anaplan is going to have far stronger ecosystem. So the pros for Anaplan is highly customizable for sophisticated planning scenarios, and that's what planners love, just because they like to play with the scenarios in terms of what might be possible. So if you are very sophisticated planner, you might like Anaplan as opposed to going for slightly more prescriptive analytics that you are going to find with some of these vertical platforms. The connected planning is a big deal with Anaplan. It can combine a lot of different data sets that not every planning solution will be able to combine. So that has been always their strength. Now, the cons for Anaplan is that you are going to have a steep learning curve. You are looking at very expensive platform, but you're also looking at very expensive implementation, just because to be able to implement what is going to be available with some of the other solutions that we have in the market, you will require substantial consulting support. So if you have a need for that, that could be a great choice. Otherwise, if you are slightly more mid-market companies tight on budget, then you might want to go for slightly more prescriptive analytics. Limited pre-baked industry-specific workflows, and you are not going to find as much of that with Anaplan. So that's going to be a con. So that's number 3. Now, number 2 on our list is Blue Yonder. Blue Yonder is going to be fit for upper to mid market and the enterprise needing complete suite. So they not only have your S&OP platform, but they are going to have complete suite. Because of that complete suite, they are going to be number 1 pre-integrated. They are going to have access to a lot more data as part of their suite, because their WMS, CMS, control tower, everything is going to be connected as part of that suite. And then they are partnering with other network providers, and they're getting a lot more data. So obviously, because of that, their forecasting accuracy is going to be far superior, just because they have more data and they can do a lot more as part of the suite. And that's what makes Blue Yonder really strong. So the pros for Blue Yonder is going to be complete suite integrated for retail centric industries. And this is going to be slightly more prescriptive. It's not going to work for every single industry out there. So if you are retail centric industry, that's when Blue Yonder is going to be really fit. Most tools as part of the suite for retail planners, Retail planners, whatever they are going to need, Blue Yonder could be a great fit. But then if you are using it for other industries, the same tools that are going to be gold for retailers, they might not be as beneficial for the other industries. Now, the cons for Blue Yonder is that it's going to be really expensive, not really SMB friendly, and not the best fit for 3PL companies. It's really designed more from the shipper perspective so that's number 2. Now, number 1 on our list is going to be Connexus. Connexus targets upper to mid-market and enterprises. The way Connexus is designed, it's sort of balance of everything. They also have a network, and there are only very few network that we have in the market. For example, E2Open is going to have the network, Connexus is going to have network, Infor is going to have network, but that's pretty much it. Everybody else is relying on somebody else's network. And with Connexus, you are also going to find that they are one of the strongest overall from the manufacturing perspective, the way their inventory is designed. So if you are going to be in those automotive, aerospace centric verticals, that's where Connexus is going to really shine. So pros for Connexus is the richest pre-baked planning platform with enterprise grade capabilities for manufacturers and retailers, advanced capabilities such as your returns and spare part management. So some of the times what happens is, even though planning engine may work for your equipment division, it might not do as good a job for your spare parts division, just because they go through many very different planning cycle. So you need to pay attention to, okay, which one you are buying, and they are going to be as good for both of them, or 3 different planning cycles that you might. So make sure you pay attention to that. The cons for Connexus is going to be, may not be the most customizable platform, and that is the choice that you need to make, whether you are looking for slightly more prescriptive platform or are you looking for slightly more horizontal platform. So Connexus is going to be beneficial when you cannot spend as much in consulting. You might need to spend a lot more in training, in understanding their data models, just because they have prescribed a lot more that might not be familiar to you. So you are going to be spending a lot more in training and change management, as opposed to the technical consulting and technical development. It's probably going to be expensive, and it's not SMB friendly. It's supposed to be very enterprise platform. So that's number 1. On that note, if you enjoyed this video, we are going to include a link for a detailed article, so check that out. This podcast is also available in the audio form on Apple, Google, and Spotify, so you might want to check that. If you have not checked our digital transformation report for 2023, we are going to include the link for that too. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we publish these videos on a weekly basis, so you might want to hit the subscribe button. On that note, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.